PJ Net, retire McCain. Now, if there is, well, first of all, there's plenty of people out there that want to do that, and many of you here are here for that reason. But I know of one person that would really love to retire McCain. And that person is taking it very serious. That is Dr. Kelli Ward. And let's bring Kelli on board here. And Dr. Ward, you've been busy on the campaign trail. Sorry, we kind of missed you last week. I'm sure that you probably were just lounging around doing nothing, right?
Oh, yes. All the relaxation time. No, I mean, sometimes it's difficult to be able to get to a place where I actually have Wi-Fi and Skype and the ability to get in. Because I am traveling all over the state of Arizona, and unfortunately, in a lot of the rural areas, it's kind of sketchy cell service, and so sometimes it's hard to get in. But I'm glad to be here with you.
Well, it's we took a break over the July 4th holiday, but many of the faithful were here anyway. And hey, listen, this is a very drawn out process. August 3rd is just getting closer all the time, and that's when the early voting starts. How's it changing out there? Are you seeing any difference? Is momentum swinging?
Oh, you know what? The momentum is amazing. It's spectacular. Really, I don't think we could ask for anything more. I think that we are going to hit the peak right when we need to as early voting starts on August 3rd throughout the month of August, and then August 30th, I think we are going to send a message to Washington, D.C. like has never been heard. And I have to say that it is so humbling and gratifying what the people here in this chat room do every single day. Every single tweet, every single phone call, every single knock on a door has been making a huge difference, because my name recognition is going up, 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 up. John McCain is not going anywhere, or he's going down. And so I think that we are going to shock the world come August 30th.
Well, and I think that at some point, all the money in the world can't help you. If you're an incumbent and you've been there a while, and people, what's he going to do? I tell you what he has done. And I don't know, I'm going to kind of bring you up to speed, because you probably don't get on Twitter as much as a lot of us do. Twitter is on fire with "Don't draft our daughters." Now, you've said earlier, but for the record, where are you on that?
Yeah, I'm not for drafting our daughters. I have been adamantly opposed. It's yet another poison pill that people put into a very important bill, the National Defense Authorization Act. And you know who put this poison pill in? John McCain. John McCain. And I ask at every meeting I go to, hey guys, who called John McCain or wrote to John McCain or texted him or Facebook messaged him and said, we want you to include women in the draft? And guess what? Not one hand goes up in those rooms, because the people who were calling out for drafting our daughters are the radical feminists and the extremely left-leaning progressives who want to socially engineer our military and make it into something that we don't want, we don't need. I was talking to my daughter, she's 20, and she said, don't people realize that when we had the draft before, the people who kept the country going when the men were at war were the women? We need to have someone at home who can hold down the fort should it come to the point where we have to go off and fight a war.
Well, I've learned quite a bit in this issue, and I had some misconceptions because, first of all, the facts are, politically, now you've spoken to the political side of it, but operationally, did you know that females are 86% more likely to be injured in combat than men?
Well, it's not as though they've ergonomically changed the packs or the guns or the way people sleep to accommodate a female anatomy. As a physician, I know men and women are different and have different needs, and I think that women who want to go to war and want to be on the front lines and have the physical abilities to do so should be able to volunteer to do it. But to think that we are going to take young women like my daughter, who's 20 years old, and force them into those roles is appalling to me. And whether you agree with the social policy or not, you have to realize it is sweeping policy change. And it should never be done by a powerful committee chairman who puts it into a bill that funds our military. And then he puts that poison pill in, and he expects everyone else in the Senate, everyone else in the House, and everyone in the United States to swallow that pill. he does it again and again and again. He's attacking me right now over my lack of support for the National Defense Authorization Act. But I never voted on it. But before I was, when I was in the state Senate, I was asked about that particular bill. And at that point, that's when they put in indefinite detention of American citizens without due process. And that's unconstitutional. That's wrong. And that's one of the reasons why Ted Cruz, Ben Sasse, Rand Paul, and Mike Lee voted against the NDAA again, not just with drafting our daughters, but also because that provision is still there. They've offered the amendment to take it out, and John McCain fiercely refuses to allow that to be taken out of that particular bill. It's appalling.
And there was some other, Dr. Ward, some other chicanery in play, I believe. Now, I don't have the exact statistics, but the vote was kind of close. It was 30-something to 30-something. Well, that tells me that 30-something were in abstention.
Yeah, they do a lot of little shenanigans like that where they have a tough bill. There have been bills on the floor of the House where there's only one or two people there, one or two representatives. And I know Thomas Massie was keeping a close eye on that over on the House side. And they have pictures of him running down the hall to get to the floor before the vote is taken. Because leadership often is doing things that the people don't want, and the other representatives and even the other senators are not aware of or are opposed to. And they want to figure out a way to finagle to get those things passed because they know they're unpopular, and they don't want the American people to know what they're doing.
Well, today, Dr. Ward, as I was out driving, and I was contemplating our conversation, and I thought to myself, somewhere there's been a disconnect that the people in Washington that we elected are up there totally disconnected from us, saying, how can we slip this through? It's unpopular. Nobody wants it. No one asked for it. What's driving them?
Oftentimes it's special interests. Oftentimes it's people who have given them a lot of money. Oftentimes, I don't know. I have no idea what it is. It's one person who contacted them, and they're going to push through something that's going to affect over 300 million people, come hell or high water. And so I think that, I know, and that two-way communication between the people who are elected and the people who are being represented is largely missing, especially at the federal level, but even at the state level, and sometimes even further down the line, in the city council and the board of supervisors level. But at the federal level, it's as though there is a moat, and it's filled with snapping crocodiles or alligators, and it's between the elected official and we, the people. And that moat, we have got to build a bridge across that and listen to the people who are supposed to be represented in this great representative republic. We can't have good government. We can't have representative government if the elected officials refuse to listen to the people that they represent.
Dr. Ward, you've served as a state senator.
Yes.
And you've been in situations to where you had a constituency that had opinions on both sides of the issue.
Yes.
How did you represent a constituency? What would happen if somebody called you on something that you disagreed with? Was it just how do you do it?
Well, it is difficult because you are not there to represent yourself. You're there to represent the people. And you represent Republicans and Democrats and Libertarians and Green Party people. And, they elect you because hopefully they know your principles, they know your morals, they know your ethics, they know your stances. I have been very clear in what I believe, and that I believe in small government and low taxes and the strongest military in the world, personal responsibility, and following our Constitution. So my judgment of bills that came before us or policy proposals that came before us is, first, is it a government function? And second, is it constitutional? Because if it's not a government function, you don't even need to look at it.
Right.
But if it is, then you need to see if it's a constitutional piece of legislation. And you have to also realize when you're in elected office, you are not going to please 100% of the people 100% of the time. Someone is always going to be upset with you. And I think what I've seen with elected officials, and especially with Senator McCain, is that if he's talking to one group, he'll say one thing. If he's talking to another group, he'll say a different thing. And there are plenty of videos out there on YouTube, on Twitter, all over the place that show him talking about the same issue in different in formats and saying completely opposite things. I think people are sick of that. I think people want to know where you stand. Even if they're angry with you because of the stance you take, they want you to take that stance so that they have the ability to trust what you're going to do, what you're going to say. They can kind of predict what's going to happen if you are their elected representative.
Dr. Ward, let's presume for a moment that you were on the United States Senate floor and this bill came up, the NDAA, clearly an item of national importance, but these things get burdened down with amendments. How would you have voted on that?
Well, I mean, with what was in there this time, I would have had to have gone with Cruz and Paul and Lee and Sass and voted no, because it did have the provision to draft our daughters. In the NDAA, there's also a provision to provide abortions on military bases abroad. I oppose that. It's another poison pill for me that I refuse to swallow. This particular NDAA had $1.3 billion to give to Middle Eastern freedom fighters. Now, the last time we gave money to the freedom fighters, we gave $500 million, $500 million, and we got 4 or 5 good rebels, and the rest, they took the money and they became ISIS. They took the money, they took the weapons, and they took the training. And so that concerns me. So, I think the NDAA and the funding of our military should be a clean bill, and that's what I will fight for in the United States Senate.
I hope you can pull it off. Good luck. We need it so badly because, yes. And the funny thing is let's suppose that you get elected, and then 6 years from now you will have voted for or against something, yes. Not because of the bill, but because of the amendments in it, and yes. and you will be excoriated because you didn't vote to fund veterans benefits. Well, right. It was an amendment in a bill that was, it's sad. It's
yeah.
broken.
Well, I mean, I'm being attacked right now, and I haven't even ever voted on a bill about national security, just because I simply voiced my opinion that it's not good to have indefinite detention of American citizens without due process. I'm being attacked as being anti-military. Now, I will tell you, it's appalling to me that Senator McCain would attack me as a military wife of a man who has served in our military for 32 years and counting. He's still serving, and question my patriotism and question my love of our military and our veterans and protecting our country. I think people are seeing through it this time, and they're just, well, today he came out with something that said he's proud to have secured the border, and I think that people are basically calling him out on his extreme liberty that he takes with the truth, and I think that's going to be a little bit difficult for him to overcome come August 3rd.
If he believes that, he's one of the few that believes
yes.
it. Okay.
Yes.
Well, Dr. Ward, thank you for being generous with your time tonight, and you're always welcome to join us. And you're such an encouragement. You're such an inspiration, and we are looking for fresh, new faces in Washington. And when you get 80, I hope you're still not there.
Oh, no. I promise you, I will not be there for more than 2 terms. 12 years is more than enough. Term limits for all, term limits for me, term limits for everyone. But yes, you're exactly right. But, I think I've got some things I can add for a short period of time, and then I'll be ready to pass the torch. I will not be in Washington, D.C. when I'm 80 years old.
There you go. Well, Dr. Ward, you've been very generous, and we wish you the best of luck. Hope we will see you next week. And until then, you go get them, girl.
I will, Mark. Hey, and I recommend everybody go see the new Dinesh D'Souza movie, Hillary's America. It's quite an expose.
Can't wait. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye now.